You're listening to Radio 740, CBC Toronto.
Good morning. I'm Patrick Martin.
I'm Bronwyn Draney. In this hour, a Sunday morning special presentation.
In late 1978, the world was stunned by the mass murder-suicide of 912 Americans in the jungle village of Jonestown, Guyana. Those who died were members of a cult called the People's Temple. They were followers of the Reverend Jim Jones.
In the wake of this massacre, there remained many unanswered questions. Why were people drawn so powerfully to Jim Jones? Why did they follow him to the South American jungle? Why did they stay there? And how did Jim Jones convince or coerce so many of his followers to die with him in a mass cyanide poisoning?
The best answers to these questions are to be found in the hundreds of hours of audio tape recordings found in Jonestown and impounded by the FBI and the CIA. These tapes have just been released through a Freedom of Information Act suit launched in the United States. Recorded here is the incredible history of the People's Temple.
For the next hour, parental discretion is advised. The documentary you are about to hear portrays the actual events in Jonestown, Guyana. The brainwashing, the repression, the suicide rehearsals, and the deathbed ramblings of Jim Jones, Father Jim Jones.
A Sunday morning special presentation, Father Cares, the last of Jonestown. The narration is taken from eyewitness testimony of the handful of Jonestown survivors.
At the end, he would say he was born out of due time, the world not ready for his message. He was too highly evolved. His principles were too pure, his commitment too deep, his love too all-embracing for this time, for this planet consumed as it was with hatred and racism and greed.
The most segregated institution in America is the church at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Segregated institution in America.
The most racist institutions are the churches.
You can hear hate.
You can listen to the broadcast over and over, all through these religious broadcasts. You can hear hate over and over these religious. You just listen with a close ear, with a scrutinizing mind. You can hear hate all the time, teaching people to hate one another.
Perhaps Father was evil decades before. Perhaps he was insincere and cruel and even bestial from the beginning, but he was surely bold and exciting with an animal sexuality. His voice was captivating, his presence commanding, his power was overwhelming.
I've got to find out who's willing to think. The truth will set. It's only right that I get somebody to be like I am. All others are deceived. I want you to be like me. I don't want you to worship me. I want you to be like I am. I want you to become what I am. I want you to enjoy the fearlessness that I have, the courage that I have, the compassion that I have, the love that I have, the all-encompassing mercy that I am. I want you to be what I am and something greater. I want you to give you more than I have. I want you to be greater than I am. And if you don't want to go this route, then go to hell where you want to, but don't bother me.
He rose from a silent stage in the early 70s. Father had always thought of himself as a historical figure, and therefore, knowing that everything he said was important, he recorded his descent into history. Starting early on, when the People's Temple was rising with enthusiasm in the Redwood Valley of California, when he proclaimed he was divine.
We're dealing with some serious matters.
Oh, thank you, Father.
And devised ways to show it.
All right, thank you, because I'm going to heal you now and save you from the worst death I know. Your throat being opened up and having a tracheotomy and having unable to speak. I'm going to take away the hoarseness that's in the morning. Now, you just begin to vomit and the cancer will unlodge. Hands clapped.
The healing ceremonies were glorious spectacles of often rather amateurish sleight of hand. Those who didn't like these displays, or later the crude language, left right away. Those who stayed accepted the fraudulence to receive the message, one that became a combustible mixture of sacrilege and socialism. Yet Father demanded incessantly expressions of faith and gratitude. In criticism of Jim or the temple, was blasphemy and treason.
Just remember, you don't have anything on me that I care about, because everything that you have on me, I've let it all hang right out for everybody to see. Now you get to worry about yourself. I don't mind losing my life. What about you? I don't mind losing my reputation. What about you? I don't mind being tortured. What about you? You that are afraid to, well, I'm just no longer afraid, and I've lost interest in this old world of capitalist sin. And racism, I've lost interest in it. So if somebody wants to make me stay in it by compromising with filthy-minded people that cannot even have respect for somebody that would die for even his enemies, and they want to cause anarchy in our midst, I would just as soon bring it all to a gallant, a glorious screaming end. Just bring it to a screeching stop in a one glorious moment of triumph. So you think about it.
It happened almost overnight, the exodus to the South American jungle. In the summer of 1977, Jim had been worried. A magazine article was being written about the temple, more rumors from the defectors. He tried to get the article stopped and failed, and decided then to take his people to the temple's mission in Guyana, established 3 years before. The exodus had always been in his mind. Leaving California was exciting. Father said his people were persecuted and chosen. He talked about the caravans of the Mormons, the long march of the Chinese communists. They were pilgrims on a quest for enlightenment and safety. But Father was on a different quest. He wanted his people to follow him into the jungle, to be alone with the night and his voice.
I love you very much. Think now as you go down the path, please, on healings, blessings, protections. Father cares. Father cares. You can tell in his voice he cares. He cares, and he'll be with you all the way. Good night, my darlings. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade.
The Americans settled in to their new life in the jungle. Safe now, it seemed, far away from the enemies. But it was soon learned not far enough. In the radio room at Jonestown, Dad made a tape recording, a memo to be sent to the Guyanese officials. The message was an explanation of a problem that had come up, a problem caused by, as Jim called it, revolutionary sex.
Some years ago, Assistant District Attorney, who was a member of our church, Timothy Stone, came to me and stated that his wife was quite likely to commit treason. I had known prior to this time that his wife, Mrs. Stone, seemed to have some sexual interest in me. He confirmed that matter and asked me to try to keep her in our church by that means. Out of this unholy union came a beautiful son. I love this child deeply. She has now shown her true reactionary colors and gone back to her bigoted families who are openly racistic. I would rather die than see the child brought up in such an environment. Needless to say, this is the reason why I'm staying close to our new home of Guyana these days.
That was Jim's side of the story. There was another. Timothy Stone had once sworn that Jim had indeed sired the child, John Victor. But now he said that wasn't true, that he'd signed the paper under duress. And Grace Stone would also insist that her husband, not Jim, was the true father. There has never been any real proof. Only 2 months after they got to Guyana, Grace Stone's attorney traveled to Georgetown to ask the Guyanese court to enforce the legal order from California giving custody to the mother of the child. The attorney expected cooperation from the Guyanese authorities and expected to take John Victor Stone back to California. Jim had different ideas, and the first white night took place. The first night in this strange land when they would not know if they would live or die. There with the rain and the mud, the people of Jonestown decided they would never allow John Victor Stone, Jonestown's child, to be taken away. Jim's voice on the loudspeakers deployed them out into the dark. They stood in defiance, a wet, bedraggled group. Even the children, even the sick and the old, with machetes and pitchforks waiting for the attack Jim promised was coming, waiting for the first sniper's bullet. And Jim went into the radio room to contact Temple headquarters in San Francisco by shortwave. He felt betrayed by the Guyanese government. The government he thought he could control was coming to arrest him.
We will not allow any of our people to be taken, but we do have the right to die, and everyone made that decision. Anyone that wanted not to was given permission to leave. But we will die unless we are given freedom from harassment and given asylum somewhere.
We are not suggesting, do you copy? That any compromise be making on the part of the child, we do not feel that any precedent should be set of giving anyone back. We feel that the child should stay with you, over.
The Guyanese police had come to Jonestown to serve Jim with the legal papers. He hid from the police when they came. They nailed the papers to one of the buildings and left. Jim was now in contempt of court. And as the night went on, the shortwave radio crackled in the air with Mother Marcelin pleading with her husband from San Francisco.
Roger. I just want to say that it's hard for me to believe that all of these children that are brilliant, who have so much to give to the third world, are going to have to be sacrificed because of fascism and hate that exists in the world. It's hard for me to understand. But I certainly understand your stand there and with you 100%.
If you don't get control of your emotions, you can destroy the greatest decision in history. We are asking for asylum for all of the...
But the greatest decision in history would not happen that night. The threat of mass suicide worked. The police would not come to get John Victor Stone, nor would they ever come back to get Father. And the first white night in the jungle became part of Jonestown mythology, a victory, and they could threaten again with the conviction that their adversaries would always back down.
We stood up and resisted, and I won the battle on the PA system and on the front lines. It was a story of, I want to be sure at any time anything comes our way, I can talk to the whole world. You ought to tell the story. It is a story of glory.
Thousands of miles away in California, the relatives of Jonestown residents, their contact cut off from their loved ones by Dad, were becoming troublesome. A group was formed called Concerned Relatives, and with the prize defectors Timothy and Grace Stone, the custody battle for John Victor became the center of the challenge. They also sent a petition to the U.S. State Department charging human rights violations in Jonestown. It was complicated. For many years, Father had worked to break down blood ties. The bonds to him had to be much stronger. The troubles continued. More accusations from California still unproven. The relatives back home, now the enemy, now became despised. And at night, the people of Jonestown lined up in front of the pavilion, eager to get to the microphone to testify, to tell Jim and the congregation the best story of what they would do to their families if they had the chance.
Just tell us right quick, one line, what do you think should be done to your relative?
I'd like to kill my so-called brother and Bill Aarons for the crap that both of them have caused over these years since they've left.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Sandy knew that this was the last hope for many people, including children, and when she wants to ally herself with people who wish to destroy this place, I think she should be wiped out. It happened to occur to me, a good way of beating somebody up is to have them christened like a boat. If her skull was split, it would serve a good purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Mr. Tupper should die, and that I should
Mr. Tupper, this always kills me, this family. Mr. Tupper. He's always been Mr. Tupper. Everybody calls him Mr. Tupper. I don't want to know it. It's funny. I like it, Mr. Tupper. Go ahead.
I think that I should take a knife and cut Mr. Tupper all up real good, and
cut him up real good.
And then make him look like, cut him up and then put poison in him and invite all my relatives over there and have them eat him, and then I'll die.
You've been talking to Reb. That's what you've been doing.
My mom is a damn fool. I hope I knock the fucking shit out of you.
I'm glad I put my life on the line to save you. Say my mom is a goddamn fool. I beat the fucking shit out of her.
I dare her come out because I'll be the one to I'm a shotter.
Good. My mama's a goddamn fool.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How do you copy me?
Father demanded a news conference by shortwave radio. The press gathered in the office of the temple's attorney in San Francisco, waiting to hear a statement from Jonestown that was to refute the charges of the relatives. And in the jungle, in the radio room, Father was ready. He stood close as one of his aides took the microphone.
My name is Harriet Tropp. I have a law degree and am currently teaching at the Jonestown Community School. I have a statement to make on behalf of People's Temple in response to the grossly false and malicious statements that continue to be made about our community here in Guyana. Do you copy?
And with Jim whispering instructions, Harriet charged that the allegations of the concerned relatives were cruel and monstrous lies, that the relatives wanted to bring mayhem to the promised land.
Saved, and they're a small number compared to all of the relatives who are planning to visit you.
Okay, I have a long statement on that one. I put it in there.
But then she made more clear, more public, the totality of their commitment.
Dr. Martin Luther King reaffirmed the validity of ultimate commitment when he told his Freedom Riders, quote, "We must develop the quiet courage of dying for a cause," close quote. Do you copy? And we, likewise, affirm that before we will submit quietly to the interminable plotting and persecution of this politically motivated conspiracy, we will resist actively, putting our lives on the line if it comes to that. Do you copy? Patrick Henry captured it when he said simply, "Give me liberty or give me death."
Thus, clothed with the mantle of Martin Luther King and Patrick Henry, they had made the ultimate commitment. Their vote was unanimous. It always was.
Anyone who wants to tear this down is a sadist, a criminal, or a neo-Nazi.
They would not be submissive in slaughter. They would be like the heroes of the Warsaw Ghetto.
We are happy here. Do you copy?
Perhaps this bravado drew little more than smiles from the people in San Francisco, so distant was it from their reality. But in the jungle, it was not a laughing matter.
But don't ever say hate is your enemy. Love has practically caused me to get you destroyed. If I had hated a little more, just a little more, we would have had a little less trouble. Because I look at my faults analytically. Sure, you got love, principle, but don't say, hate is my enemy. What did they say? What's that words? Hate is my enemy. I got to fight it day and night. And what else is the other line? Love is the only weapon. Shit! Bullshit! Martin Luther King died with love. Kennedy died talking about something he couldn't even understand, some kind of generalized love, and he never even backed it up. He shut down. Bullshit! Love is the only weapon with which I got to fight. I got a hell of a lot of weapons to fight. I got my claws, I got cutlasses, I got guns, I got dynamite, I got a hell of a lot to fight. I'll fight, I'll fight, I will fight, I will fight, I will fight, I will fight. Let the night roar with it. They're out there, they're out there, they're listening. Let the night roar with it. Let the night roar, because they can hear us. They know we mean it. We'll kill them if they come.
Father was not happy. He felt trapped, and he was sick, a stomach fungus, difficult to diagnose, causing a high fever.
When people have given their all, we've gone through hell and high water and sacrificed. You think I'm going to let somebody betray that?
He talked about the dissidents among them, those planning treason. He feared the secret resistor, the one who had learned to mouth the gratitudes, to sing the songs with gusto, to keep awake for the endless monologues in the People's Rally.
But anyway, if you were to run away, and you got all the way back to New York or Chicago, you won't get by.
And Father was frightened of those who were trying to find a way to escape. The least indication of disaffection was to be reported.
Anybody got any question about such a policy?
Some tricky tests were devised, such as planting a disloyal statement just to see if it would get back to Father.
You sure you understand the policy?
And children began to spy on their parents.
And be careful. When Santa Claus is checking his list, going over it twice, seeing who's naughty and who's nice.
Very late one night, Father called one of the seniors up to the stage, a man who had made the mistake of telling friends about wanting to make just one more visit home.
All right, how many witnesses are to him saying that he want to go back to the States?
He said, I really want to get away from here, and by Christmas I will be gone.
That may be true. That may be true. By Christmas you want to be gone?
Yeah, well,
by Christmas you want to be gone? By Christmas do you want to be gone?
I would ask you, could I go home to make a trip to see my people?
By Christmas you'd like to be gone?
I would like to make a round trip ticket.
By Christmas, I'm asking you one question. You have listened here many times to what I said, and I do not intend now to repeat myself. I have established myself on this proposition unequivocally clear, and I have now moved from an administrative socialist office into the office of Savior. Do you want to be able to go home, what you call home, by Christmas?
Wouldn't tell after you people get your what could try to go home.
Now you find this humorous. I'm now in the office. I have the power to send you home by Christmas, but it's not on Transworld Airlines.
You just take anything and make a big thing out of it.
That's not a big thing. That's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. It's blasphemy. Now if I cease meditating for you, you won't need to go home. Do you want to go home?
No.
Well, then be seated and shut your mouth and don't be in my face anymore.
father went on and on into the night, his congregation scared and confused and worried. He needed them now even more. They responded often with shouts of praise and murmurs of amen, and lined up to come to the microphone to testify to their love for him and their love for socialism, a love so pure they would do anything to prove it, commit suicide, even kill their children.
How do you feel about it? You may die tonight.
Dad, from 68 to 69, the capitalists sent me to Vietnam to fight a war that I didn't know anything about. I had no principle to die in that war. You have saved my life so many times, Dad. Now I don't have no life of my own. I'm living on your time. I would die for you right now, Dad. I'm willing to face the front line with you right now. Thank you, Dad.
I'm prepared to die for this family if I have to for freedom. Thank you, Dad.
And I'm prepared to give my life if need be.
You would take your daughter's life if they came to it?
No, I'd give mine in the place of hers.
Would you like her to be freed by the fascists then?
And hold it now. He got on a sensitive point, and that maybe you think about it. They brought up a sensitive question, and you may not understand the gravity of that question, but all of our children have faced this. We went through white nights, so they'll not be hurt by it. We haven't had any child causing us any difficulties by facing this kind of thought.
Jerry, the question would be, if the fascists were coming up the road right now, and we were going to lay down our lives and fight for it, you say you would give your life for your child's, but would you leave it for the fascists to have? What would you do in that case? If it came to that, I would have to take her life.
Fine. You understand that? You understand that? Will you? But she's so old, she'd fight. How old is your child?
11.
Well, she passed the age. We'd fight at 11. It's under that, but we consider that. She would take up a cutlass and fight till she was dead. Unless it came to an overwhelming invasion, then we would gently put them to sleep, which we have, where they never know what hit them. We are already prepared for that.
Yes, I think we all should die tonight if it's our turn. I'm willing, Father, to stand with you all the way, just like I always have told you 3 years ago. Because everything seems and will always be the same. I'm not changing.
You don't need to say. You don't need to say no more. I remember your fight.
I love you, Father.
I know you do.
I know some of my people that others go. I felt like they're gonna hurt you. When they hurt you, they hurt me. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not gonna lie. You're the only father I have. It's the only family I have. I give up my brother.
I remember you fighting.
To you.
I remember when you sang, I never heard. Sing it for us right now.
I'm gonna sing it for you. All the days of my life, ever since I've been born, I never heard a man speak like this man before.
Come on, sing it. Ever heard a man speak like this man before? The days of my life ever since I've been born. Never heard a man like this man before. That's true. Wherever in the hell it's brought us on principle, it brought us on courage, and it brought us to the right place. And if we hold on, we'll make it. I never heard a man speak like this man before. I never heard a man speak like this man before. All the days of my life, ever since I've been born. I never. Louder, louder. Clap your hands. I never. I never heard a man speak like this man before. All the days of this life, ever since I've been born, I never heard a man
speak like this man before. Now make your sound move. If by any chance you would make a mistake to try to come in and take any one of us, we will not let you. You will die. You will have to take anybody over all of our dead bodies.
Once before, Father had said, "We came so close, my darlings." But this night would be, in Jonestown legend, the night Father said he died. He meant it metaphorically. He had decided that his infinite goodness could no longer be given to his people and received. They were beyond his help. He had sentenced them, and then he suspended the sentence, waiting for the glorious moment.
You are listening to a Sunday morning special presentation, Father Cares, the Last of Jonestown. In the final portion of the program, you will hear the events which led up to the tragedy in the Guyana jungle, the attempt to move the People's Temple to the Soviet Union, the visit of concerned relatives, which ended in the murder of a United States congressman, newsmen, and dissidents from the cult. The tapes you will hear are excerpts from the hundreds of hours of recordings found in Jonestown. The narration is drawn from the eyewitness testimony of Jonestown survivors.
The concerned relatives in California had found an important ally, a congressman, Leo Ryan from San Mateo, his district outside San Francisco, where Jim still had some strong political influence. Congressman Ryan had a niece who had disappeared into Scientology, and he sympathized with the torment of the temple relatives who came to him for help. And Leo Ryan had always been attracted to unorthodox, highly visible causes, like baby seals and whales. And like Jim, Congressman Ryan seemed also bold and exciting. 6 months before the end, Ryan was making real trouble. He asked the Department of State to investigate Jim's passport, and he wrote a letter to the temple declaring his support for Timothy and Grace Stone in the battle over the child. And the congressman wanted to know when he could visit Jonestown. In the jungle in Jonestown, Father was worried and intrigued. A confrontation was possible, a cataclysmic confrontation, the gallant moment watched by an admiring world. However, at the same time, Dad wanted to get away from Guyana to a final sanctuary, truly beyond the reach of the class enemies, as he called them. He wanted to go to the Soviet Union.
Attention, attention. Tonight at 7:45
is the day. President Sadat
review
is stopping over
followed
in
by
Paris
the Russian
on his way to
language.
Washington.
Then testing will take place.
In Lusaka, African leaders are meeting about Rhodesia.
Followed by agricultural session and a catharsis.
Now, you go ahead and study your Russian. I'm going to give some news, which you can study on the blackboard or to play just after. Go ahead and study your Russian.
By fall, Father was on the loudspeaker every morning with the news from Radio Moscow. He gave lectures on communist theory and the Soviet Constitution, and language lessons were started. And constantly training about what to do, how to act, what to say, what to wear, when important visitors came to Jonestown.
Let's go. We got to answer some of these questions about how you react. How are you going to call the office?
Jim.
Jim. You call me Jim. You don't say father or dad. No screaming around like that. It's Jim. What do you call this place?
We call it Jonestown.
That's right. Say we. Good. Now, you never say family. Just say. I'm asking you, what about the weather, dear? How's the weather out here at Jonestown? I want to know about how the weather is.
The weather is beautiful out here.
It is? What kind of weather you got? I don't know. Beautiful. What the hell's beautiful mean? I'm going to talk like a reporter could talk.
The weather is beautiful.
You won't say that. What do you mean, ma'am? What do you mean, madam, the weather's beautiful? What's that mean?
It's always nice and warm. It's never cold.
Oh, that's fair. You see, you can say that. Oh, there's something else, too. When they asked you get wages, said, what would I need with wages? I get everything I need. It's a communal project. It's cooperative. We don't even use money. We don't need it. Are you required to pay so much? No. Anybody can get in here, each according to his ability, to each according to his need. That's Christian, honey. That's right in the Bible. They want to war with that damn thing. Let them war with it.
Two people came to Jonestown to celebrate the epic nature of the noble experiment.
So you got to keep this policy going on. We'll go on with classes and stuff.
They came as myth makers. One was the temple's greatest supporter back in California, Mark Lane, Dr. Mark Lane, as father called him.
I just want to close by telling you that this has been an absolutely rare experience. I guess you hear that from everybody who comes here, but let me join with the chorus then of, first of all, coming to this portion of the world. You know, to get on that train in Georgetown, and it's going back to the 19th century in terms of the modes of transportation. And then you come on into here, and you don't just come up to the 20th century, you're in the future all of a sudden. And so it's a big move. And either this is the future, or there won't be any. Because
that's so true. That's so true.
The people of Jonestown thought about the future a lot, where they might go to find happiness and freedom. Father kept them confused and hoping. They knew, though, that they would not be going back to America. For many months, the temple had been talking to Fyodor Timofeyev, the third secretary of the Soviet embassy in Georgetown, reportedly a major in the KGB. Timofeyev had arranged for positive articles about Jonestown to appear in the Soviet press. Father wanted to make the last part of the epic journey of persecution to Russia. The Jonestown basketball team and the temple band were set to make a cultural exchange going to Moscow. It would also be a scouting mission to look for a new home for the temple. Dad said the most likely place was a balmy locale on the east coast of the Black Sea, a region known as Krasnodar. It was so warm there that oranges grew on the trees, and in winter only a light dusting of snow. The talks with Timofeyev had become more serious. Dad said he wanted to arrange to transfer the temple's fortune to Soviet banks. But the diplomat was cautious. He wanted to know more about Father. He expressed concern about Jim's cult of personality.
We're so happy to have you with us, comrade. Comrade. You hear? Don't say brother, say comrade. How many will say comrade now? Father cares. He cares, and he'll be with you all the way. Good night, my darling. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade. Good night, comrade.
Finally, Timofeyev came to Jonestown, along with a Soviet doctor. An official visit, a tour, long discussions with Father, a banquet and speeches and music.
Hundreds of
of guests have come through here in the name of socialism. Hundreds of guests. But for the first time, and now I give you without further ado, the consular and the chief of the press department of the embassy of the USSR of Guyana, so proudly, Fyodor Timofeyev. Will you come forward?
Здравствуйте, добрый вечер, дорогие товарищи. First of all, on behalf of the Embassy of the USSR, I'd like to send to you my deepest and our deepest and the most sincere greeting to the people of the first socialist and communist community of the United States of America, in Guyana and in the world.
This gentleman said something that I cannot quote here. It gave me more peace than ever before. I know after I heard his words, I didn't need to worry about my family, Jonestown, anymore.
In the last month, Father became desperately sick and seemed scared.
You don't understand the dire danger of the jungle. Thank you very much. I love you, but I must be stern in defense of the lives of our children. You could not survive in the jungle if you were to get there. The snake that can make your leg nothing but a mass of open ulceration. Check it in the medical office. And your eyes go blind and then be paralyzed. Snakes that kill within 3 hours or 20 minutes. Crocodiles that devour you in one gulp. Quicksand that swallows you up over your head just beyond the East House. You have no business going in the jungle. I thank you. I love you.
His diabetes gave him terrible headaches, made him dizzy. His hands and wrists were swollen to clown-like proportions.
But he's fine now, he's conscious, and he's alert, so don't worry. He said, you bet your ass he'll be there on his feet. Enemies can't kill him. He's going to get all of our enemies.
The fever stayed and got worse. The fungus honeycombed his lungs. If nothing happened, he would soon die of natural causes. His blood pressure soared to the stroke level.
I am very emotionally disturbed with another traitor who has stolen our money. It only amounted to a few $1,000s. But I am disturbed, and that's what caused my heart attack. Someone in the States, and I'll get every last damn one of them. I want to tell you, every last damn one of them will die. They will die. I declare unto you, I will not stop until every last one of them is dead, and I'm a long way from death. Even though I was 3 minutes dead, I'm a long way from dead.
The addiction had begun in late summer, starting with brandy and quaaludes, then injections of tranquilizers and antidepressants. Father thought he had cancer, so he started taking powerful antibiotics as well, destroying any natural defenses his body had left. His speech slurred, his mouth was dry. He licked his lips constantly. Most of the time he lay in his bed, drugged, naked, delirious. Father looked and sounded pitiful, and the sight of him instilled in some of the people a desperate desire to escape.
So I'm asking you to be extremely careful, to not wander out where the tigers are. Ask Ricky Johnson about that. When he was out there and lost, he felt the tiger brush right by him. And there are kind of insects that have given some people some disorder. They don't seem to be transmittable and not contagious, but they sure make the person sick that gets them. We advise you to follow that procedure 1,000%. Thank you very much.
A congressman was coming.
And they've got a congressman they want to come in who's close to the member of the John Birch Society, just to drop in. And my opinion is to tell him to stick it.
Leading a real invasion, real enemies, including the newsmen and the concerned relatives. Father said the congressman had supported fascist dictatorships and racism. The congressman was wicked. His invasion was evil. They must be ready.
I've got to be involved in the radio room ready at night because of a master plan to try to tear up our right to freedom.
Just days before the congressman would arrive, a drum of a dangerous chemical was unloaded at Jonestown. It was quickly stored away in the clinic, but a few of the people saw it.
They tell the most horrible tales. They whip up dreams of madness out of their own nightmares and evil souls.
Late on the night of November 17th, after the festivities at Jonestown put on for the visiting press and Congressman Ryan and his staff, a note was given to Ryan from a temple member who wanted to escape. The next day, 14 people asked to leave with the congressman. A televised interview, Father seemed to come apart before a world that watched. Later, Congressman Ryan was attacked by a man with a knife, not seriously hurt, and he soon left with his staff, with the defectors, with the newsmen. A flatbed truck followed into the jungle, carrying the gunmen. Father called them his Red Brigade.
If they come in here by night, they are finished. Thank you. Much love.
Let me sit down, sit down, sit down. The baby quiet, please.
Dad climbed up into his chair for the last time. His first words, "I've tried to give you a good life."
In spite of all of my tried, a handful of our people, with their lives, have made our life impossible. There's no way to detach ourselves from what's happened today.
He said they were sitting on a powder keg. Things had happened. The fascists would soon come after them. And when the troops came in along that muddy road, they had better not find anyone alive.
If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace.
So Father made his final proposal.
So my opinion is that we be kind to children and be kind to seniors and take the portion like we used to take in ancient Greece and step over quietly because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. Anyone that has any dissenting opinion, please speak.
There was not immediate agreement.
Yes.
The people wanted to talk about it.
But I still think as an individual, and I feel like that as long as there's life, there's hope. That's my faith. Well, someday everybody dies. Someplace that hope runs out because everybody dies. I haven't seen anybody yet didn't die. I said I'm afraid to die. I don't think you are. I don't think you are. But I look at all the babies and I think they deserve to live. I agree. You know? But also they deserve what's more, they deserve peace.
What about Russia, somebody asked. Father said it was too late. How could Russia accept them now that the murders had happened? Maybe the congressman was still alive. Maybe the plane had not fallen from the sky. No, Jim said.
It's too late. The congressman's dead. The congressman Day's dead. Many of our traitors are dead. They're all laying out there dead. Please get us some medication. It's simple. It's simple. There's no convulsions with it. It's just simple. Just please get it. Before it's too late, the GDF will be here. I tell you, get moving. Get moving. Get moving. Don't be afraid to die. If these people land out here, they'll torture some of our children here. They'll torture our people. They'll torture our seniors. We cannot have this.
The line formed. The children were first. The seniors next. Be kind to the seniors, Dad said. Some seemed peaceful, even grateful. Others fearfully doubtful, but they saw no escape, no rescue. A few resisted physically. They were held down. the poison injected. There was screaming, almost chaos. Father had said it would not hurt, and now he scolded those who made a fuss.
Don't be this way. Stop this hysterics. This is not the way for people who are socialistic communists to die. No way for us to die. We must die with some dignity. We must die with some dignity. But children, it's just something to put to the rest. Oh, God. If you quit telling them they're dying, if you adults would stop some of this nonsense, adults, I call on you to stop this nonsense. I call on you to quit exciting your children when all they're doing is going to quiet rest. All they're doing is taking a drink to go to sleep. That's what death is, sleep. I tell you, I don't care how many screams you hear, I don't care how many anguished cries. Death is 1,000,000 times preferable to 10 more days of this life. If you knew what was ahead of you, you'd be glad to be stepping over tonight. Take our life from us. We laid it down, we got tired. We didn't commit suicide, we committed an act of revolutionary suicide protesting the conditions of an inhumane world.
And a few got away. An old man lay in a ditch pretending he was dead. An old woman slept through it all. A security man tricked a nurse and hid under a house. And one man made his way to the back of the crowd. There, a guard, a woman, challenged him with a crossbow. No, sister, he just wanted to say farewell to some friends. She softened, they embraced. And when she turned away to look again at what was going on in front of the pavilion, he ran for the jungle, fighting his way several hundred yards in, and waited there, perhaps 2 hours, listening to the wail of pain, slow to end. And then it was quiet. In the dark, he crept back into the camp to get his passport. Across the way, near the pavilion, someone moved. It was Father's nurse. She found Jim on his pedestal, surrounded by his now silent followers, 911 of them. He had swallowed a fistful of barbiturates, but he would not or could not take the poison. And there, in the faint light, Father saw the woman. He begged her to shoot him. She arranged his hands across his chest in a pious pose. She put a pillow under his head to make him comfortable. She shot him in the left temple, and then she flung the weapon away in disgust.
This has been a Sunday morning special presentation. Father Cares, the last of Jonestown. The tapes were obtained through a Freedom of Information Act suit launched in the United States by James Reston, Jr. The narration was prepared from eyewitness accounts of Jonestown survivors by James Reston, Jr. and Noah Adams. Read by Noah Adams. This program was originally produced for National Public Radio in Washington by Deborah Amos. Adapted for CBC Radio by Terrence McKenna.
Affiliated stations, please stand by. This is Sunday Morning.
sport federations. Abby Hoffman, elected to the executive board of the COA, says it's a field that has not been taken seriously enough.
Until very recently, most sport governing bodies in Canada were so preoccupied with getting enough money to organize their teams and get coaching and provide training camps and competition that they just simply either didn't feel the need or didn't have the resources to participate heavily at the international level. So we're really going to have to work very, very hard in this area to catch up.
The workshop also resulted in the suggestion that sport should work more closely with the External Affairs Department of the federal government to make it better equipped to handle international politics. This is George Young, CBC Sports, Montreal.
And that's the news. This is CBC Radio. The temperature in downtown Toronto is 12 degrees. The forecast, sunny with cloudy periods today, chance of a shower later on. Milder with a high near 15. It'll be partly cloudy tonight and again tomorrow. Tonight's expected low about 3 degrees and the high for tomorrow about 16.
Radio 740, CBC Toronto.
Sunday morning, third hour.
Good morning, I'm Bronwyn Draney.
I'm Patrick Martin. On Arts World, the Atlantic Symphony Orchestra covers the waterfront at a fundraising gig in a Halifax bar.
Calgary is hell, in a low-budget film that takes off where Dante ended his Inferno.
On the International Review, Namibia. Black nations demand sanctions against South Africa, but Western powers prefer persuasion.
Lebanon, the latest ceasefire collapses as the Syrians go on the offensive.
Geneva, Swiss voters reject a better deal for the country's migrant workers.
Warsaw, the Communist Party starts to clean house. A messenger from Moscow warns against going too far.
Washington, the MX missile system. Even the Hawks are having second thoughts.
Japan, the cover-up of a nuclear accident kindles memories of Hiroshima.
Sunday morning, a week in the life of the world.
The Atlantic Symphony Orchestra has had more than its share of financial woes, and it's had to find innovative techniques